Expression. On this week's show, we have three lovely ladies by the name of Shanice Jackson, Sashana Morris, and Damala Lewis. And I'm your host, Tevin Frazer. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. And we're back. And as we said before the break, we'll be discussing cultural expressions. So to kick today's show off, we have Miss Jackson explain how music is impacted by cultural expression in Trinidad and Tobago. Miss Jackson, could you please take the floor?
Firstly, to say, Trinidad and Tobago has a wide variety of musical genres, but the most commonly ones are soca and calypso. Soca and calypso. Soca and calypso are used for the famous Trinidadian carnival, which is held yearly. Now, calypso came about in the early 20th century by the West African Kaiso. Now, soca. This is a mixture of calypso and Indian rhythms. It was invented by Garfield Blackman, otherwise known as Shorty, in the 1963. Soca was modernized in the early 17th century. Now, other genres that Trinidad and Tobago, other musical genres that Trinidad and Tobago have are the chutney and the parang. Now, the chutney is a rhythmic fusion of traditional Indian percussion and soca beat with Hindu and English lyrics. Now, the chutney came about in the 1940s, but was first recorded in the 1968. Chutney songs tends to draw more to the religious side. Now about the parang. Parang is a form of folk music which was originated in Trinidad and Tobago and was brought to them by a Venezuelan miner. The word parang comes from the Spanish word paranda. Parang is lively and rhythmic for Christmas time.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. That is very well put together. But can I just ask you one simple question? Out of all those genres of music in Trinidad that you just explained, could you please tell me which one is your favorite and why?
My favorite music is soca. That's the one I like best because soca, you don't need the music to move your feet. You can hear the rhythm, the beat, and it just moves your feet for you. So I like the up-tempo beat of soca.
Okay, well, maybe sometime we should go soca dancing. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. So now we'll have Ms. Sashana Morris, and Ms. Morris will be discussing on how cuisine affects Trinidad and Tobago in a cultural expression way. Ms. Jackson, Ms. Morris.
When it comes down to cuisine in Trinidad and Tobago, it combines up a mixture of Indian, Creole, Amerindian, European, and Chinese influences.
Okay.
With the Creole food, it was introduced to Trinidad by the Africans. Some popular dishes are macaroni, pie, and kalaloo. And these dishes have been refined to create Trinidadian-inspired dishes. Just about any meat or legume can be stewed in Trini style. And they also have soup such as oxtail and cow heel soup. Indian food now, we have the curry, which is a traditional Indian spice, and it was introduced to the Caribbean by Indian laborers. Just about any meat can be curried in Trinidad and Tobago. Roti, as you know, roti, as you know, is a well-known Indian dish, and it is a stove-top roasted flatbread that can be served with any form of meat or any vegetable of your choice. And then you have the street cuisine. In St. James, that is the ideal place for street vending. The vendors sell jerk chicken, they sell ice cream, they sell soup, coconut water, and the list goes on. Unusual cuisine now, you have the bacon shark. This is a deep fried piece of shark that is nestled between slices of fried bacon and topped with the relishes of your choice. And you have the fruit shows, which are made with seasonal fruits such as the mango, plums, and any fruit of your choice. Then you have the chip chip. This is a tiny shellfish which is similar in taste to clams. And you also have the cascadura. This is a more freshwater fish which is covered with large plates of bony dark scales.
Well, Miss Morris, all that talk about roti has made me quite hungry. So let me ask you just one simple question. If we were to be in Trinidad and Tobago right now, what dish would you suggest for me to partake in, for me to consume? And remember, I like the spicy food.
You know what this is? Okay, well, for me, I would suggest that you try the bacon shark because it sounds so interesting. The way they say it's deep fried pieces of shark, and how it is nestled between slices of fried bacon and topped with relishes of your choice. So I would recommend that you try bacon shark.
Bacon shark. That's the first thing on my list when I go to Trinidad and Tobago. Thanks, Miss Morris. No. Thanks. No, we know that Trinidad and Tobago have a lot of parties, you know, a lot of festivals, carnivals, so forth. So I wonder if Miss Lewis would please elaborate on how festival is done in Trinidad and Tobago and how it is passed down from generations to generations. Miss Lewis, it's your time to take the floor. Could you please?
Well, hello, Mr. Frazer. Well, as you know, the famous Trini Carnival. Well, however, Trinidad has several different festivals per year, namely Carnival, Diwali, Jose, Independence Day, and Arrival Day. Carnival, Trinidadian Carnival is known all over the world. It's a yearly event that occurs during the month of February and March. Trinidadians come out dressed in costume of their choice and all of that. However, Carnival came about in the day of slavery when the masters, the Caucasian people, were the only ones allowed to take part in this event. However, after slavery ended, blacks were also welcome to participate in this event. So that's where Carnival originated from. So as you can see, it's coming from very far. Diwali. Diwali is a traditional Indian celebration. It is known as the Festival of Lights. Actually, Trinidad has the second largest Diwali celebration, and it is a national holiday in Trinidad. In Diwali is usually in October or November of each year, and it celebrates the Indian goddess of light. It is a celebration that is pretty much like good over evil, happiness over sadness, and amongst other things. Diwali is celebrated by lighting candles all around the house by the family and friends, and the family usually shares a vegetarian meal. Emancipation Day. Trinidad's Emancipation Day is August 1st. They became emancipated August 1st, 1834. It was the first country to declare Emancipation Day a national holiday. Emancipation Day is celebrated with a street parade. Dancing to the sound of African drums, people dressed in traditional African garb parading through the streets in a vibrant display. Jose. Jose is an Islamic execution. It generally runs for 4 days in April, May, or June. The varying of the months, the month varies because of the Islamic calendar. Jose is observed with a parade full of colorful tajas in commemoration of martyrdom of Hussein, the godson of Muhammad. In Trinidad, observances have evolved to include participants from all races and religions. Next, I will talk about Arrival Day. Arrival Day is pretty much coming from the celebration of the Africans coming to the US, coming to Trinidad and Tobago. It is celebrated on May 30th annually. Arrival Day is a public holiday in Trinidad celebrated on the 30th of May and signifies the Indian indenture workers coming to Trinidad. This happened on May 30th, 1845. The Indians brought a wide range of festival and religious observances. Their spices and food made a big impact on the Trinidadian culture, and as you can see, reflects in their food and their culture. Thank you.
Very, 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 very well put together, Miss Lewis. So, Miss Lewis, can I ask you one question, please?
Sure.
At the end of this month, this month being May and all, can we all go to Trinidad and Miss Jackson will help us to pick out some soca music. Miss Morris will help us to do the cuisine, and I'm sure you know about all the festivities going down here. Will you be up for all of that?
Sure.
Alright, we'll make it a date. So, with all that being said, we go for a second and last commercial break. Don't you move, stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back. Now, we'll be discussing cultural erasure, but I'll just ask my representatives today to discuss what cultural erasure is, starting from Ms. Lewis. Ms. Lewis, could you please?
Well, cultural erasure is simply when a culture loses a celebration that was coming from a few years and is traditionally known, or it starts to die down. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Lewis. Well, that's all the time we have today, so please join us next week, same time, on Carib Talk. My name is Tevin Frazer. Thank you. And we're back to Carib Talk. To close up today's show, we'll discuss cultural erasure and retention. Starting with Ms. Lewis. Ms. Lewis, could you please explain what cultural erasure is?
Sure. Cultural erasure is when a society loses a value that is considered important cultural practices or it dies down.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lewis. Ms. Jackson, do you think music is erased from the culture of Trinidad and Tobago? If so, could you please explain how?
Yes, I think music has erased from Trinidad and Tobago because music such as soca, reggae, and calypso was erased. This means that they are no longer popular in the everyday lives of people. Such music now needs special occasions to be played. An example of a special occasion is Carnival, because most of these artists tend to lean to the modern side of music now, which is the side that is Americanized, because most soca artists, dancehall artists, and reggae artists tend to sing hip-hop songs, so their regular genre have been died out. Thank you.
Very well said, Ms. Johnson. I totally agree with what you're saying. Miss Morris, I'm sure you have something to say about festival, about cuisine, and if it has been erased. So, could you please take the floor?
Sure. As you all know, the Caribbean is well known for many things, but one of the things that stands out is the food. Now, as the years have passed, traditional dishes have been erased or prepared in a different way, which is said to be non-traditional. This is so because of technological changes, and many persons rather to choose the easy way out and ways that are more time consuming. Thus, it erases the traditional way of preparing dishes. So yes, I do believe that cuisine has been erased.
And as well, you know, I know today we're discussing festivals, music and cuisine, but other aspects of culture has been erased, and it happens all over, not just in Trinidad. Like, typically, the family types and as well as dress. Dress has become modernized, and traditional wear isn't the basic or daily wear anymore. As well as usually families would be nuclear families, both parents and the children. Nowadays, single parent family is very common, especially a matrifocal family. Thank you.
Thank you. So to close today's show, I'd like to thank all my guests, Miss Jackson, Miss Morris, and Miss Lewis. I hope you come back some other time. So stay tuned for next week's episode where we'll be discussing dance and dancehall music and how it affects Jamaica. Remember, this is Carib Talk. See you next week.
We asked Mrs. Johnson Miles, a Caribbean Studies lecturer here at Montego Bay Community College, 4 interview questions. I'm going to read the question and her answers. Question 1. What are your views on cultural erasure, retention, and renewal? I see the 3 concepts as simple ways in which a culture can change. Culture in its simplest form is said to be a people's way of life. Now, this way of life, according to the sociologists, has 2 main components. A, material, which includes dress, food, symbols, etc. And B, non-material, values, norms, and beliefs. Culture can change through a process of cultural erasure, which speak to the discontinuation of cultural practices. It can also change through cultural renewal. This is when people fashion new practices of a lot of old ones. Cultural retention can also be impacted by culture can also be impacted by cultural retention, and that is when a deliberate or conscious effort is made to hold on to elements of one's past. Question 2. What are the causes of cultural erasure, retention, and renewal? All 3 processes stem from different factors or conditions. However, a common trend is that the change usually takes place based on how much those practices are valued. Cultural erasure, and I'm going to list these points. 1. People no more value people no more value an act. 2. Traditional practices seen as outdated and conflicting with the more modern way of doing things. 3. Modern ways also said to be more cost-effective and efficient. Example, people no longer keep their dead covered in ice at home before the burial. Instead, morgues are used. 4th, can also be caused by the influence of a hegemonic power, as seen, for example, during slavery, where through acculturation, the Europeans forced their way of life upon the natives. Cultural retention. An act or value is of great importance to maintain one's heritage and a connection with the past. Hence, a sense of identity. An act have some economic value. Example, cherishing historical sites to be used in tourism. Cultural renewal. To bring new meaning to an accept of one's culture. To preserve cultural practices cultural practices which cannot be sustained in an authentic way. Example, Emancipation Day celebration. There is festivities, but not as seen with the former enslaved. Question 3. What are the effects of the above? Effects can lead to conflict with groups, especially if one sees the need to retain and the other's wishes to erase. Preserve your heritage and maintain a connection with the past, hence identity, cultural retention. No. Last question. Due to cultural erasure, retention, do you think cultural erasure, retention, and renewal has or will affect cultural expression such as festivals, music, and cuisine? All process can impact cultural expression. Festivals such as Jankunu. Erasure. Traditional dishes still used, but through mass media and the impact of metropolitan countries, aspects of our culture have either been refashioned or completely altered. That's it.